Madhava Kunja Bihar Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhara Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskrityam Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiret Ashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike Sranvata Swakata Krishna Punyashravana. Yeah. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome back to our regular discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam. We are in Canto 3, Chapter 30, verse 31. Canto 3, Status Quo, Chapter 31, Description by Lord Kapila of Adverse Fruitive Activity, verse 31. Ekah prapadyate dvantam itvedam svakalevaram kushaletarapatayo bhutadroyena yadbrutham. Once more. Eka prapadyate dvantam hitvedam svakalevaram kushaletarapatayo bhutadroyena yadbrutam. Synonyms. Ekaha, alone. Prapadyate, he enters. Dvantam, darkness. Hitva, after quitting. Idam, this. Swa, his. Kalevaram, body. Kushala itara, sin. Pataye, pateya, his passage money. Bhuta, to other living entities. Drohena, by injury. Yat, which body. Bhritam, was maintained. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Sharanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. He goes alone to the darkest regions of hell after quitting the present body, and the money acquired by envying other living entities is the passage money with which he leaves this world. Purport. When a man earns money by unfair means and maintains his family and himself with that money, the money is enjoyed by many members of the family, but he alone goes to hell. A person who enjoys life by earning money or by envying another's life, and who enjoys with family and friends, will have to enjoy alone the resultant sinful reactions accrued from such violent and illicit life. For example, if a man secures some money by killing someone and with that money maintains his family, those who enjoy the black money earned by him are also partially responsible and are also sent to hell. But he, who is the leader, is especially punished. The result of material enjoyment is that one takes with him the sinful reaction only and not the money. The money he earned is left in this world and he takes only the reaction. In this world also, if a person acquires some money by murdering someone, the family is not hanged, although its members are sinfully contaminated. But the man who commits the murder and maintains his family is himself hanged as a murderer. The direct offender is more responsible for sinful activities than the indirect enjoyer. The great learned scholar Chanakya Pandita says, therefore, that whatever one has is in his position had better be spent for the cause of Sat, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because one cannot take his possessions with him. They remain here and they will be lost. Either we leave the money or money leaves us, but we will be separated. The best use of money, as long as it is within our possession, is to spend it to acquire Krishna consciousness. Translation. He goes alone to the darkest regions of hell after quitting the present body, and the money he acquired by envying other living entities is the passage money with which he leaves this world. Quite a powerful verse. Hare Krishna. We'll offer some prayers and have some discussion. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dudati Swapadantikam वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। This verse reminds me of something from my school days. Anytime any teacher wanted a student to actually focus on certain topic, my teacher, I'm not sure about others, but our class teacher used to give that specific topic to that student so that at least for giving the presentation, the student will focus on that topic and learn it. So it feels in many ways, Shamsundar wants me to focus on this specific lesson. So um, I'm asked to speak on this specific verse. In a way, funny, but instructive. So, so one specific point that there are two things that I kind of wanted to discuss. One is this line that Srila Prabhupada used in the translation. And the money acquired by envying other living entities is the passage money with which he leaves this world. So while preparing for the class and then going through other Acharya's notes along with a kind of some other notes that are available, the kind of two specific explanations that are given for this line. One is how Srila Prabhupada is writing, which is the money acquired by envying other living entities is the passage money with which he leaves this world. The understanding which Srila Prabhupada also gives in purport is that becomes the reason why, because for which he goes to the hell. He or she, the person who is kind of envious and acquiring money in illicit ways, which Prabhupada calls it as illicit, or if you kind of want to translate as illegal ways, by not just by killing somebody or others, but just through the means of earning. So Srila Prabhupada kind of clarifies that in the purport here. He says, a person who enjoys life by earning money or by envying another's life. So it's not just about earning money through the illegal ways, but just about carrying this heavy burden of envy in our. We might ourselves be quite poor, but if we are always carrying that burden of envy in our heart for somebody who's having a cherished life, that also in a way becomes the cause of kind of entering into the darkest regions of hell. So that's one understanding of specifically causing that as passage money is the means which through which we earn this money eventually kind of leads the way to the destination of the darkest regions of hell. And some acharyas also give this kind of in an interesting contrast, not kind of in a contradicting statement, but in a kind of contrasting way. Some acharyas explain that the money that this person who is on his way to the darkest regions of hell, that money in fact actually becomes his food. So while he leaves his body, from that moment to the time that he actually enters into the hell, his sustenance is provided in a way. I mean, it's kind of, from a gross sense, it's difficult to comprehend. But what acharyas explain is the in a way, kind of breaking it down. It's like the the sin that we have acquired, or the kind of heavy burden that we have acquired by performing these set of activities, by which we might have earned a lot of money, and kind of might have had this life full of enjoyment. But once we die, since we cannot carry this money, what we carry is the sin that we have accrued. And that sin, and that, in a way, that kind of money becomes our food. So it's a kind of, in a contrasting way, it also leads, it paves the path to the darkest of regions of hell. And not just it paves the path, but it also becomes your carrier in a way, because like, because that is what is sustaining you from the time you leave your body to the time you enter the darkest regions of hell. So it's kind of scary in both the ways. In one way, that you're the gross part of it, the physical money part of it, you're leaving it aside, you're not carrying it anywhere. But in other sense, you're carrying it, because the result of it is what is carrying you all the way. So so it, it's kind of, just think of it as is scary, that that becomes, in all the way. Why is it, even if you just think it from a materialistic standpoint, why is it so important to get rid of this another's of just having this envy towards another person's life? And we have all had this experience, especially in recent times, with so much happening across the world. Anybody that we talk to, kind of externally, they might be, I know a devotee, without taking the names. I know a devotee who's actually going through a lot of trouble. He's for multiple reasons. His family had to leave the states, and go back to India to support the family in India. And here, because of everything that's happening, the job is in confusion state, and he's trying to attend interviews, but kind of, in some cases, he goes through the interview, clears, but the immigration policies does not allow it. So there's so much of confusion and chaos that's happening around, but you always see him smiling. From Without knowing the details, you might feel, oh, this person is so happy, and is enjoying his life. But once you start talking to him, then you realize that, oh, all of us are in one way or the other, in kind of the similar boat. So each of us have that experience. Not on the surface, everybody might be appearing as being healthy and happy, and having this quote unquote cherished life. But the nature of this world, as Krishna says, dukkhalayam ashashvitam, just the sheer nature of this world is the place of pain and misery, and this just the nature itself is temporary. So there's nothing, in one way, in one sense, there is, other than being grateful for the life that we are having. Also, a discussion that I was recently having with a devotee. Like, right now, my job is quite hectic and crazy. Um, Not something that I wish to have it for long, just the schedule. But this is what it is, and we were just discussing, and the devotee was expressing that, like last year, around this time, I was traveling every week to Dallas, staying there for a week, away from the family, not kind of having, like, I was packing the prasadam for the entire week, because it's not very difficult that I can get prasadam there. So I was carrying prasadam for the entire week, keeping it in the refrigerator, microwave. Not the best of the worlds, that, in one sense. So you're saying that when we spoke at that time, you were expressing that, oh, I wish I can have the job in Chicago, whatever it is, the schedule, I'm still okay. Now you kind of have that wish. Now I have the, I have a job in Chicago. I'm yes, I might be working for majority of the day at my desk, but I get to still get to spend some at least some time with my kids and my family. I get to sleep on the same bed with my family, which was kind of in one sense a dream, almost exactly this time of the year last year. Not completely uncertainty if it goes through, if we will even get to continue to live in Naperville. But from that point on to now, in a way, whatever quote unquote was our desires and wishes, Radha Shamsundar have completely fulfilled it. We are getting to live in Naperville. We also bought a house closer to temple. In one sense, at October 28, 2024, whatever our wishes and desires were, in a way, kind of our intense desires and prayers that we were going to Radha Shamsundar and Radha Vamshi Gopal and praying, they were all fulfilled. But at this point, in when I'm kind of seeing my job, till I spoke to this devotee, um, I was in this complaining mood. Oh, I wish the job is better. I wish the pay was better. I wish I could have. There were a lot of wishes and ifs and buts. But then you were saying that you kind of got what you wished for, and all you can do is, yeah, there will always be complaints. That's the nature of the world that we have. But more than that, you got to be grateful for what you have. And then, yeah, one from that standpoint of being grateful and seeing face to face Radha Shamsundar, Radha Vamshi and saying that, my dear lords, thank you. This is what I asked for you, and you gave me. And if there is anything that you, from this point on, from standing on that position of being grateful for what you have, then you can look forward to kind of improving things. When we say of being grateful, I don't think it means to say kind of just adjusting with any troubles and issues that we have, but from the platform of being grateful and with that intense gratitude towards the devotees and the lordships. From that standpoint, we also look forward to see that, okay, I'm grateful for what I have, but what can I do further to make sure the things are actually improving. And that was kind of a quite a revealing observation that the devotee was saying. So yeah, that those in I'll also make a confession. Um, this is completely outside of what I was preparing for the class. But something that came out of my heart, and which I think is also as very instructive just for me to kind of remember the instructions that the devotee was giving me, to kind of just being in this just being in this sangha with each of you who is here, has is kind of a cherished dream for both me, my wife, and for our kids also, which we call Naperville as our home, kind of just being here. So now, as I kind of think through from the life that I had last year to now, just feeling immense gratitude. And I also wanted to kind of thank you for each and everyone who have prayed for us and wished that we continue living here. So thank you for that. But before I end the discussion, there's one story, a small story that I wanted to discuss, which in a way contrasting what Kapiladev is explaining here. He goes alone to the darkest regions and kind of explaining for somebody who is already on that path of at one point, each of us were in that path of going into the darkest regions of hell, and some devotee just plucked us out from that path and placed us in a much safer position. And now, so I wanted to discuss about one such story from the life of Sri Ramanujacharya. This is one of my favorite stories growing up. I might have heard this. I can't even remember number of times that I've heard. Ramanujacharya is personally one of my um, personal heroes that I look up to, and his entourage of devotees, Kuresha, Dasharati, Parashara Bhattar. So many others, and one such personality that I look up to is Dhanurdasa. There are multiple names for Dhanurdas, but Dhanurdas is usually the kind of quite a famous name. So Dhanurdas, at one point of time before he met Ramanujacharya, was a wrestler. Um, Wrestler, very well built, very handsome, quite strong personality, and there are multiple versions of this. What some call this lady Hemamba as his wife. Some stories explain she was just a courtesan in the area that Dhanurdas was there, and some explain that she was just kind of does not explain who she was, but she always had this fascination to go to Sri Rangam during a festival season, because Sri Rangam at that point was the kind of the place to be. Um, because the sheer number of festivals that Sri Ranganath used to celebrate, and the pomp and the glory of the festival was quite well known across the India, not just in South India. And Hemamba always had this wish to go to this festival. And for one of the festivals, she expresses to Dhanurdas, who are already by then together, that I wish to go to Srirangam. She does not say that she wants Dhanurdas to come, or anything that of that sort. But Dhanurdas, because he was so attached to Hemamba, he says, I'll also come. And all the way from the place where they were to Srirangam, all he does is he he was so attracted to Hemamba, because she was also a very beautiful lady. He was so attracted to Hemamba that he never wished to take his eyes off. So all the way it is described that he walked seeing Hemamba. Hemamba was walking towards Srirangam, and all Darudas was doing was seeing Hemamba and walking backwards and holding the umbrella. And they reach Srirangam. The celebration is happening. There is procession. It is happening. And for lack of time, we'll not go into the specific details. There is also wonderful descriptions of how the procession was arranged. What are the first things that were arranged, and then the number of brahmanas and a lot of other details that are being done, that were there. But for lack of time, we'll not get into those details. And then once they reach Srirangam, what Dhanurdas is doing is, along with carrying the umbrella for kind of giving her a shade, he also has a fan in his right hand, who just to make sure that Hemamba will feel that coolness. So he's carrying the umbrella for protecting her from it. It's almost like what Shirangam, like a kind of parallel procession that is happening for Shiranganath and Hemamba. There are these devotees that are holding this umbrella for Shiranganath and Ranganayaki, and doing chamana and fan. And right across the street, Dhanurdas is also doing the same for Hemamba. And at the same time, Ramanjacharya and all of his disciples are walking in the procession, and they get amazed, like just seeing the parallel procession that Dhanurdas is carrying on. And it's not that Dhanurdas was hiding or anything. He was completely oblivious to the external world that was happening. And he was just carrying the umbrella and just completely immersed. And Ramanjacharya just gets amused and puzzled, like, wow, like here is a man there's so much of sound and chaos that's happening around, but he is completely like aloof. And then Ramanujacharya says that, okay, he asks one of his disciples, Dasharati, um, to bring Dhanurdas to him. And Dasharati goes to Dhanurdas, and he says that my guru wants to talk to you. And Dhanurdas, then he says, because he has this um, etiquette of respecting the saints, he then says to Yamamba that there is a saint that is calling me, I'll just come back. And then he says, he makes sure that everything is comfortable for her. And then he goes and meets Ramanjacharya. Ramanjacharya says that, why are you so, like, what are you doing? He says, I've never seen anybody more beautiful than Hemamba. And she's the most beautiful person that I've ever seen. And I'm um, surrendering my life to her, and just making sure that I can kind of relish that beauty with my eyes. Then Ramanujacharya says, what if I show you something more beautiful? And Dhanurdas says, no, you cannot. So Ramanujacharya takes him to a temple, and then he intensely prays to the Lord that please show, like it's not that um, um, the vision that for us to see the Lord has to be like it's Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena, it, as Brahma explains. So, so Ramanujacharya then prays to the Lord that may Dhanurdas be able to see your beauty. And after the prayer, when Dhanurdas comes and sees the deity, then he just completely, in a way, kind of melts down and falls at the feet of Ramanujacharya and says, "Thank you for saving my life." And Hemamba, by naturally, she was so humble and spiritually oriented. Then she also follows Dhanurdas, and they become one of the most prominent disciples of Ramanujacharya. And it is explained that Ramanujacharya, when he is to go to Kaveri for taking a bath, Kaveri is the river in Srirangam. When he used to go to take the bath in Kaveri, he used to hold on to the hand of Dasharati, who was a Brahmana, but when he used to come back after taking the bath, he used to hold on to the hand of Dhanurdas because by then Ramanujacharya was also old. So he used to hold on to the hand of Dhanurdas. Dhanurdas was in a way completely outside of the four varnas. He was an outcast, as we kind of call him. But through that, Ramanujacharya was explaining that it does not matter. I think it is the explanation that I've heard is that holding on to your devotees is more purifying than just taking the bath in the holy river. So in a way, Ramanujacharya was explaining that was also one of the like specifically what Ramanujacharya was doing was kind of holding on. He could have done the reverse also. There's nothing stopping Ramanujacharya, but he was specifically holding on to the hand of Dasharatha, who was a Brahmana. And but coming back, he was very specifically holding on to the hand of Dhanurja, saying that once you are under the shelter of the Lord, it doesn't matter if you are from what is your birth, as long as you're in that shelter and surrendered unto the Lord, all it matters is your disposition towards the Lord. And as elevated as Ramanujacharya also kind of is indicating us that the shelter and holding on to the hands of the devotees is much more prominent. Now coming back to the specific part of the Nuda story, which is exactly related to us, is as this is happening, then some of the other disciples of Ramanujacharya then get into that space of enviousness and does not understand why is that Ramanujacharya holding on to Dhanurdasa while coming back and is giving him prominence in the ashram is already become within very short period of time. Dhanurdas becomes one of the closest associates of Ramanujacharya to a point that Ramanujacharya can trust anything that Dhanurdas was doing. And so then these disciples go and ask, like, Acharya, what is happening? Why are you so like why do you trust Dhanurdas so much? Why are you so kind of uh, confiding in him with the trust that you have? And Ramanujacharya says that okay, let's do one thing. I'll explain it to you in a couple of days. And then the same night, Ramanujacharya with one of his disciples. Again, in this there are two versions. One version says that Ramanujacharya went and tore apart all the dhotis of these brahmachari disciples who were living in his ashram, and in some cases were also sannyasi disciples and brahmachari disciples who were living in the ashram with Ramanujacharya. And the other version of the story says that Ramanujacharya just hid the dhotis. In either case, the next day they wake up and they cannot find their dresses, and each of them start quarreling, saying that you tore my dhoti or you hid my dhoti, and there's this lot of commotion and chaos that's happening across the ashram. And then Ramanujacharya then comes and says, okay, let's think about the dhotis for some time, but I have a better idea. Even though Dhanurdas, so now Ramanujacharya is also kind of playing along. Ramanujacharya says, you remember that you used to say that why am I trusting Dhanurdas? But I've understood that Dhanurdas is not to be trusted. Why do I say that? Is because Dhanurdas has so much of money that his wife wears jewels and this precious jewelry always, but whereas all of you disciples are kind of struggling, but he never supports you. So just to teach him a lesson, let's do one thing. You go into the, I'll make sure that Dhanurdas stays in the ashram with me tonight. You go into the house of Dhanurdas, and when Hemamba is sleeping, make sure you can rob all the jewelries from Hemamba, and that way we'll actually understand where Dhanurdas' heart is. And everybody, all the disciples like this idea that it's kind of um, two aims with one shot. Like they will also get the jewelry, which they can help and all of that, and they'll also realize that what is the true heart of Dhanurdas. So Dhanurdas stays in the ashram that night. Then all these disciples go into the house of Dhanurdas. By then Himamba is sleeping. They open the door, and then they think that Hemamba is sleeping. She's already lying on her bed, which is on the floor. And they slowly walk in. And the moment Hemamba realizes that it is the disciples of Ramanujacharya who has walked in, she does not move or does anything. It is explained that she was sleeping in a position where it was only her left part was actually available for them to take all the jewelries, not the right part. So as Ashley is sleeping in on the side position, they start to take off all the jewelries that are available from the left body part of her position. And then she does not move. She clearly knows that what is happening. She does not move at all, just thinking that if I move, they might get scared. And once all the left part is done, she just turns over, thinking that now that I can turn over so that they can also take the right part of it. But just because they already knew what they were doing were wrong, the moment Hemamba turns, they get so scared that they run away back to ashram. And they run back to the ashram and indicate to Ramanujacharya that yes, the mission is successful. Now Ramanujacharya then says, okay, Dhanurdas, you can go back to home and take rest for the night. And Ramanujacharya, as Dhanurdas walks back, Ramanujacharya takes all of his disciples and then he says, okay, let's go and see what Dhanurdas is going to do with his wife. This will prove to us where Dhanurdas' true heart is. And as he goes in, Dhanurdas walks into the ashram, and Hemamba is not sleeping. She's very sad. And she's sitting by a corner of the house, and the moment Dhanurdas enters the house, he sees his wife is heavily jeweled and heavily dressed on the right side of the body, but the left side is all gone. Then he gets puzzled, like, this is an interesting way of dressing. I've never seen you dress like this. What's happening? And Hemamba, in her very sad state, um, says that when Hemamba's sadness was seen, all the disciples kind of were overjoyed, thinking that okay, now Ramanujacharya will actually understand that Hemamba and Dhanurdas are just projecting this surrendered and all of that, but they're actually sad that the jewelry is gone. And Hemamba then says, "My dear Lord, I'm so sorry. I think because the ashram is having very tough time with running the finances and all of that. Our god brothers have come here and they were trying to take the jewelries from my body, and I did not move. I kind of all we have is acharyas, and all they were doing was taking the items to where it actually belongs. We were just carrying it all along, and because it needs to go into acharya's shelter anyways, I did not move. But then this side was actually not available, and then when I flipped over, then they got scared and they left. And just hearing this story, Dhanudas becomes so angry and so disappointed in his wife. He says that how could you do that? In your heart, you always had this idea that these jewelries are mine, and because of that um, feeling of these belong to mine, you are thinking that you are capable of giving it to Acharya. And just because of that, you even thought that, okay, let me flip over so I can give it to Acharya. There's nothing for you to give it to Acharya. It is all Acharyas. And he kind of says that get rid of this feeling that this is yours and this house is yours, this beauty is yours, I'm yours. We are all Acharyas. And he kind of explains to her how disappointed it in a way, it is also instructive. What Himamba also was doing is something far beyond what I can comprehend, and what Dhanurdas is establishing is much more beyond than what Himamba has demonstrated. And just seeing that, all the disciples then realize what is the position of Dhanurdas and Mother Himamba. And at that point, Ramanujacharya does not say anything more. He just has shown them what they have to see. And all he says is that now you understand why I trust Dhanurdas and Himamba so much. So here is a person who at one point was clearly on his way to the darkest regions of hell, where in spite of this amazing procession that is happening right on the street, right across the street with so much of glory and devotion, the procession that was happening of Sri Ranganath and Sri Ranganayaki, he was very fixated in saying that I am going to go down this path, as Kapila Devi is explaining, for the darkest regions of hell, just because I'm attracted to this personality. From that standpoint, to this highly elevated position of thinking that there's nothing that belongs to me. I don't belong to myself. You don't belong to me. There's anything that we are carrying. We don't belong anything. There's nothing that we carry. It's all acharyas. The journey from that standpoint of being on the path of darkest regions of hell to this, the a position which is almost humanly impossible to achieve or even comprehend, is all happened because of Yasya Prasadat Bhagavad Prasado. Just because of that single glance that Ramanujacharya has given him, and for his willingness to accept that mercy when it came to his doorstep. If he would have rejected, if Dhanurdas would have rejected Dasharathi's invitation when he came to take him to the Acharya, then there is Dhanurdas would have just remained as one of the most best well-known wrestlers of all the time, probably. But we would have never heard of his stories with such surrender and deep devotion in our heart, and he would have not become the hero for so many millions of people all across the ages, for that level of devotion, that level of guru bhakti. And he would also not have become that epitome of the devotion that Ramanujacharya was kind of using him to demonstrate that principle of devotion, which Srila Bhaktisiddhanta has so clearly established in his discussion, that devotion will always supersede any of the birth related things that happen. And all it happens is, as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado, Yasya aprasadat nagati kutopi. As if Dhanurdas would have declined that invitation, saying that I don't need your mercy, I don't need the prasada from you, then there was no nagati kutopi, there was no other way. And just because he has accepted that invitation from Dasharathi, which was the way forward that Ramanujacharya was giving him, what he has achieved is Bhagavad Prasada, that highest revelation of understanding that nothing belongs to me, everything belongs to the acharyas. And with that, we'll end. I'm so sorry I kind of went a lot over time, but I this is a very, as I said, very cherished story of my life. I just wanted to express it to all of us. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna. If there are any corrections or questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
I
Krishna.
was just dropping off, so thank you so much. It was such a nice class. So, I mean, I was we were reading that verse and purport, translation and purport, it was like very striking, right? I think, Prabhupada, I think in the purport, Prabhupada used, I mean, the man hands by illegal means, or
Yes,
some language don't
yes,
know.
yes. Very heavy language.
Yeah, so the money stays here, the person goes to hell. So, something like that, that effect. I mean, I mean, people does so many things, either power or wealth or whatever it is, but then even until the last minute, right? I mean, They won't believe. I don't know. I mean, it's so charming, that activity, right? So,
Yeah.
it,
Power. Power is very dangerous.
yeah, one doesn't understand. I mean, it's very difficult to understand in this world that it doesn't come with us, right? And then the story that Dhanurdas and Ramanujacharyas, I mean, it was very, very nice. I mean, we had, of course, many times, and it was very nice to hear. As you said, yeah, that would not have happened, would not have taken that mercy. I mean, people would not have discussed about from this perspective. Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You would have maybe just been a very famous wrestler,
Yeah,
but
but
not.
how many people will discuss that, right? So,
Yes. Yeah.
so many times.
Almost after thousands of years,
Yeah,
he's still living with us, and that's like he'll continue to live
yeah,
forever as
was
long as Sri Ranganath is there. Dhanudas and Kuresha, Dasharati, all these Ramanujacharya, Parashara Bhattar, like all these
yes.
continue to live. So it's amazing.
Thank you.
So I think we'll end it here. Thank you so much for everyone for joining and allowing me this opportunity to discuss. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Ananta koti Vaishnava Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki